Having an optimized brain is a competitive edge for founders. Our guest has a track record of transforming business leaders that were overwhelmed, overworked, burnt out, and sleep deprived. Sound familiar? Into elite performers that thrive during uncertainty and chaos. Ooh, yeah, we get a lot of chaos in our founder journeys, don't we? Oh my gosh. It's Fab Female Founder Friday on the Startup Life Live show. Let's glow, everybody. Woohoo! And dance. Hello and welcome to the Startup Life Live show. I'm your host, Ande, Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders and around the world. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, can I just say I have a deep appreciation of what you founders are crawling through every single day. Those high levels of uncertainty that you're navigating. Oh my gosh. But I know there are some wins that happen there that just leave you feeling so joyous and exhilarated from the experience. And I want to also say that I'm so grateful that you carved out time to tune in and grab the great gems from our guest today, as well as gems for your business so that you can up your founder game. Because as you do better, your business will do better. And this is our role as founders. We have to constantly be taking on new skill sets and mindsets to help improve our startup's ability to succeed. So I'm just a big yoo-hoo to some live viewers that are out there and to my replay viewers and podcast listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are going to love the conversation. And if you're tuning in from YouTube, hello. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you get an alert whenever I post a new show. But also, we'd love to have you hop on over and join the Startup Life Live meetup group. This way, you'll get an alert with all the deep information about the guests I'm going to be having on. And you know, I'm live Tuesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. EST, bringing you incredible conversations with diverse founders for you and your business. The other thing I want to share too is I'm going to start a few new segments here. So let's see if I've got this working out here. Thank you. Yes, I do. Andelicious updates and Andelicious announcements. I just love to share what's going on in the world for you and your founder journey. So here's something I don't know if you guys know about Arlen's Academy. You know, my gal, author, and of course, investor, Backstage Capital founder. She has an academy where you can go in. They're constantly uploading new courses. It's amazing. Just go to arlensacademy.com. It's all free. And it's experts, founders in the categories that you're going to need to up your founder game. It's so wonderful. I know you will absolutely love that. And I wanted to share with you that Visible Hands, okay, applications are open for their accelerator. And it's a 14-week virtual accelerator giving you the opportunity to work alongside a cohort of exceptional underrepresented founders to build or scale your venture-backed startup. And get this, each founder or company will receive an initial $25,000 pre-seed, okay? $25,000 so you can focus completely on your business. So go check that out. I'll have the link in the show notes, but basically it's visiblehands.vc /accelerator. So that is something I wanted to make you aware of. And then I don't know if y'all are following Lolita Taub or not. Are you following her on Twitter? Amazing founder and investor, especially for community and especially for our LATAM and Latinx companies. And see the guy on the right there, that picture? That is a Boston's favorite, Elias Torres. Okay. And so she had him on her fireside chat recently, and he shared his lived experience. And he's the founder of Drift. Now, you know, Drift, that's the company that helps you pull up that little chat while you're talking away, you know, for your website. If anybody lands there, that pops up. They've done really well. And so he was sharing what it was like to grow his business, and she was pulling gems out of him. So again, please follow Lolita Taub. You will love her community. She has a community called LAAS, and it's Lolita as a Service, because that's how she is for founders. She's just so amazing in how she serves the world. So how are you founders doing this week? What's happening? Oh my gosh. Hello, Richard. So happy to see you, Richard O. Yes, you're going to learn some great things for your brain today with our guest. She's amazing. And, Ruth, where would I be without you, my wonderful community manager goddess? You're so great. And yeah, we're going to look for, and you're a mom. So it's even more important, right, that you learn how to do all of this without totally losing it on the kids and in the family environment. So, one of the things that Elias Torres shared, which I thought was really applicable to what we're going to be chatting about today, is that the biggest challenge founders face is the stress and creating and building a resilient brain. He used those two words together. So I was like, yes. And we're going to be talking with our guest all about how to do that, right? So I want to also remind everyone that I love amplifying your brand. Now, this video and the replay will be seen by hundreds, sometimes thousands of folks, whether it's on LinkedIn or YouTube. There are going to be replay viewers tuning in. And we can get your brand right up there, okay? We can have your name, your one-liner, your website, and that'll really lift you up. So be sure to always share when you come live your new startup, what's going on. And also, it's so important that you have like a founder hug moment, right? So can we have just a big group hug for founders and for yourselves and for each other? Because being on this journey, it takes a village. And here at the Startup Life Live Show, we want you to bring your disasters and your woohoos, right? Your innovations, your milestones, your wins, so we can celebrate. Yay. Or give you a big old honking hug, because dang, it's not easy. Hashtag the challenge is real on this journey. All right. I'm going to share with you our wonderful guest and bring her into the room so she can share her gems with you. Let me just put this little artwork up while I briefly share her background. It is the one, the only, the phenomenal Portia Asli. She's a licensed engineer and the founder of Optimyzed Brain, which helps entrepreneurs and executives optimize their brains for peak mental performance. And Optimized Brain has a track record of transforming you leaders that are overwhelmed and burnt out into thriving performers, elite performers. So let's bring Portia into the room and start picking her beautiful brain to find out, how do we do this? Welcome to the show, Portia.
Thank you. Hi, Andy. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here today.
Oh, it's so great to have you. Where are you hanging out from, Portia?
I'm in Toronto, Canada.
Oh, that is one part of Canada I have not made it to. And I actually have a Twitter list of what I call amazing goddesses from Toronto. That's how much I love the vibrant community and the area of Toronto. It's so wonderful. I'm so glad you could join us. Folks, I was introduced to Portia by Tony Clemendor. And if you've seen me with my Boston monthly pitch event or a podcast a couple of years ago, I had Tony on talking about it. He's an amazing mentor, a former founder himself, and he's out in Silicon Valley, and he mentors folks and incredible entrepreneurs like you, Portia, right?
He's fantastic. We're actually in the same founder community. And we were speaking to each other, and he suggested you. I fell in love with your YouTube channel and how much you love to elevate women founders, Black founders, and of course, I identify with both of those titles. And I had to get to know you. So, thank you for elevating us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's so great to add wind to your sails and to all the founders that I get to chat with. So here you are, you're on the entrepreneurial journey and adventure. What called you? And this is, we always like to find out, what is that origin story? Because, to leave a guaranteed paycheck behind and launch your own business takes a lot of courage. And I don't know, did you have entrepreneurs as role models in your life? Were you hustling as a kid, or did this just happen because you were so passionate about the problem that you're solving? Please share with everyone how you landed to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Optimized Brain is one story, and how I entered the entrepreneurship world is another story. So, I'll start with the entrepreneurship story. So, when I graduated engineering, I joined a engineering firm where very quickly, due to my performance, I was invited to be a shareholder in that firm. And that company actually got sold to a multinational for 425 million. So that was one of my first taste of being both an engineer and a shareholder in a company, which then inspired me to go out there and build my next few ventures, which then led me to eventually to Optimized Brain.
I love that trail. That's amazing. I mean, you got to see the sweet taste of success, right? I mean, oh my gosh, and experience it that as a, minority shareholder, but you got to say, wow. Now, I'm also curious, what is it about the brain? I mean, you're an engineer, so of course your superpower is problem solving, right? But why did you go into this category? What lit you up about the brain?
Yes. So Optimized Brain is actually a COVID baby. It was during the early stages of the pandemic where there was a moment where I was seeing how many business owners were suffering because they were forced to close their businesses and stay at home. Well, dealing with COVID was one thing, but also it had a huge impact on the mental health and the brain health of a lot of business owners.
That's right.
And that was one of the key indicators and key moments for me to do something about it. I knew that I had the skills, the talents, and been hugely passionate about making an impactful difference in entrepreneurs and business owners. And it was very much in July, very early stages of the pandemic, where Optimized Brain actually got launched. And then what motivated for Optimized Brain to actually become into a company that creates change is one of my very most powerful inspiration when I was studying my master's at the University of Cambridge. I was very fortunate to be surrounded by Olympians. There's a lot of Olympian athletes at Cambridge where I had the chance to hang out with them, have dinner with them, and also even entrepreneurs who built billion-dollar companies. And I had a real glimpse into their life. And one thing I realized is how much they prioritized their brain power so that they could build world-class businesses or achieve world-class results. But in order to do that, they had a team of coaches and subject matter experts that was able to bring them these cutting-edge science and able to help them to upgrade their brain performance.
Right.
So I saw that. And then I saw what was happening during the lockdowns.
Yeah.
And it was time for me to bring what I also knew into the hands of the many, many millions of entrepreneurs that are around the world who have great vision, ambitious dreams, and show them a different way that doesn't actually get them to overwork and burn out or basically overall sacrifice their well-being.
And you bring up such a wonderful point. Yeah, thank you for sharing your birth story. We birth these business folks, I'm just saying. And we get them up, we give them air, we feed them. The thing is that we forget, we see these athletes, or we see the ballerina, or we see the expert that's just like, what? They're so incredible. But we tend to compare ourselves with them, which is ridiculous because we didn't have the team that they had. We didn't have the people who were going to help us get there mentally first. And then in their case, physically following what their mind was helping them achieve. So I love that part. And I love that you have brought this type of performance, this type of leveraging what we were given between our ears here to help us succeed. because it's the stories that we constantly tell ourselves that aren't good stories that can help take us down. But also we've got conditioning around us. We've got the environment. We have all sorts of things that are not in our favor as a founder, especially you first-time founders. Right, Portia? I mean, the first-time founder is just, struggling with so much at once because they've never had to do it. And there's really nothing that can prepare you until you start actually doing it. So, Portia, what I also loved about what you were chatting about is the, using the brain in a way that you saw these athletes doing it, and that what you witnessed during COVID, like what exactly, because, we had conversations amongst ourselves. For some people, COVID lit them up with opportunities, but some of them, their brains just went to mush. What did you see specifically that you knew that you could help folks with during the shutdown when people were getting isolated?
Yeah, it was during the time where people recognized that this was a big hit to them, to themselves and in personal life, and as well as their business, because what's happening in the business was impacting them on a personal level. And so there is this personal and the business connection. And so how you feel and how you're feeling inside of you personally impacts how you do in your business.
Right.
So while COVID is just one thing that has happened that forces a business owner, an entrepreneur to rethink, reinvent, reproduce different products or services, there's always going to be something that's coming up that would have a hard hit. And so if the person internally does not have the ways, the strategies, the tools, ways to upgrade their brain and be able to think strategically, creatively, and to solve that problem, it's going to be very difficult for the business to not just survive, but it wouldn't even thrive. So while COVID was one thing, it was really important to use that as an opportunity to really build a resilient brain, which is the topic of our conversation today.
Right. Oh my gosh. And so what happens to many founders, and I've been guilty of this too, is we get so in love with our business. We get so consumed by it because it just fills us. There's endorphins. It's kind of like when you first fall in love with somebody, those 18 months of just, wee, it can happen with your business. What also can happen is that if you're anybody or anything that if it's not part of the solution, get out of the way. So, relationships start to fall away, but also that burnout because you just want to be in it. It's just so tickling all the time. All of a sudden, you're not able to perform at that level. And so that's why this building the resilient brain, because there's constantly disasters and chaos founders that are happening in your life. This is why it's so important. And I'm so happy that we have an expert like you to bring in. How do we do this? So I started off the conversation and in the show notes about how having an optimized brain is a competitive edge for founders. And so please talk about that because, the trying to imagine all of this without burnout and feeling overworked, I can't even conceive of what that might be like. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so let's start with a little bit of basics.
Okay.
So what I want to introduce everyone to is the term executive functions. The executive function is basically like problem solving, decision making, pattern recognition. These are a few brain-based skills and abilities that the frontal lobe region of your brain uses on a daily basis. So basically, if you put your hand on your forehead, right here, there is the frontal lobe region of the brain, which then that's where is housed your executive functions. What's really interesting about executive functions is that you, as an entrepreneur, use that every single day to attain your business goals, whether it be revenue targets, raising funds, growing market share, establishing an amazing company culture, getting an IP. You're going to be tapping into your executive functions. And so here's what happens. Have you ever tried working on these brain intensive tasks when you're so tired? you didn't have proper sleep. There's so many distractions going on, whether, oh, I feel so hungry, or your cell phone is constantly giving you notificational messages, or you're feeling really tense and stressed. There's a panic attack coming in. And imagine what it's like working on your business when you feel that way. Likely, you feel like you can't get the job done. Everything takes longer. Imagine you're like that and you're pitching to investors. They ask you an important question and you stall. You blank out. You aren't able to continue that dialogue forward, right? So this is what happens when you feel stressed. If you're lacking sleep, you're feeling depressed, well, your executive functions are the first to get hit.
Wow. And I'm sure there are founders right now listening or watching on the replay. They're going, oh, yeah, right here. I have many times where you asked an important question. You're like, oh, why can't I retrieve that? I know it. It's in there, but I can't retrieve it. Is that the executive functioning part of your brain?
If you're tapping into your working memory, yes, that's one part of it. The executive function has quite a lot of different components, but working memory, short term, right? If you ask a question and you need to think on your feet, that's definitely one part of that. So yeah, memory is very important, but also memory, we tap into our hippocampus as well. And so what I always love to share with people who are really interested in brain optimization and they're entrepreneurs is that your business performance is directly correlated to your brain performance. So how fast you're thinking, how much more creative you are, the mental clarity you have, the ability to think on your feet, the ability to design and solve problems, it's your brain. And the sharper your brain is, you can see that you're able to achieve those business targets much faster.
And with like grace and ease versus stumbling along like you were in a fugue, like, oh my gosh. And that can happen when we get overwhelmed. So what, and I love that you're tying this in, like, here is this organ we have in, between our ears that can enhance our performance. But how often are we really talking about that other than having a Red Bull or some, a Starbucks dark roast, right? Or some espresso shots? How can we, hydration I know is important. How can we start leveraging? And as Mia says right here, hi, Mia Voss. She says, oh, I'm loving this brain delicious, not in a zombie way. I know. And then Mia's like saying also with that executive function concept, she's using emojis, folks, that are just like, what? And I know what that feels like. And, certainly as a live host, trying to keep conversation going, trying to catch everything as it's moving forward. But nobody talks about what you can really do to create that elite performance and that it's even possible. What are your thoughts on that?
So I have a great news. First of all, peak performance is something that you can develop and nurture within yourself. So you're not born that way, but it's a skill you can develop, you can learn. And so I want to really break it down into three main areas that allows one to actually experience a peak mental performance, that high performance. There are three brain connections that we can optimize. One is called psychology. So there is a mind-brain connection. We can tap into that and we can look into making positive micro upgrades that optimizes one's psychology, that enhances then how we perform with mentally and within various different areas in our life. The second area is physiology. So physiology optimization. There is a body-brain connection. So we can look into optimizing our body with small, positive micro upgrades that very quickly enhances our mental performance. And then the third area is environment, our environment optimization, which is a lifestyle brain connection. And again, with the very small positive upgrades in our lifestyle, we can see how our brain performs jobs. We can optimize our brain. And therefore, by changing any of these for the better, we can have that high performance experience. And each of these areas are very, very unique. There's lots of clinical studies. There's so much studies have been done. There's lots of research and proven how each of these areas relates to the brain and how one can optimize it. And it's quite overwhelming, frankly. So what we've done at Optimized Brain is that we've taken all of that, very much simplified it. That whether someone is a first-time founder or is a busy parent having a very big household, which a lot of our clients are parents, mompreneurs, or you have an adversity you're dealing with. We do have people that come to us who are diagnosed with conditions. They're running a business at the same time, and yet they're like, hey, I want to optimize brain. How do we do it? And so what we've done is that we've brought all of these things, looked at very small key things one can easily do. And by doing this, what you do, we're calling that rewiring the brain. That's where the neuroplasticity comes in. So if you're not familiar with the term neuroplasticity, let me share with you in a very, very simple way. Basically, it's a fantastic phenomenon that shows that your brain can be restructured and rewired for peak performance. So if there was certain ways, certain behavior, certain way that you're performing that was diminishing, your performance, you can change that really at a neurological level. And so that's what we do with identifying some of the key things across these three areas that I mentioned that allows one to restructure and rewires the brain and to start seeing results. For us, with our clients, we start seeing results in less than 5 weeks, which is pretty amazing.
Wow. Less than 5 weeks. And, if I can do a little sidebar talking about the brain and rewiring, I am a PTSD survivor, recoverer, thriver, and had insomnia for almost 40 years. And recently met with a brain person who specializes in insomnia, and he rewired my brain, and it took 4 weeks to get control over sleep based on, who I am as a person. Oh my gosh, we're all still going, I can't believe this, but so I am in a different category, evidence of you can rewire your brain. And I never thought I would be experiencing this. And so I'm saying to you founders, with this incredible system that Portia has brought together, I'm going to pop into the comments section here because she's got the ability for a discovery call. And this will pop up and I can bring it right into the screen so our replay viewers can see it. This will be in the show notes. You can reach out to Portia and have continued conversations about this. And even better, she has a free masterclass to help you get a competitive edge. But at the end of the day, too, it's going to help you feel so much happier, right? And so much more confident. And also just like, building muscles or anything else we do to optimize our life, right? The brain is there for us. So Portia, you talk about the environment. How does the environment affect us? How can that keep us from having an optimized brain?
Yeah, definitely, Andy. There's definitely within the environment sector, there's so much to unpack. And I do want to share with first explaining what that is, and then also some key takeaways for our audience here today that they can easily apply it immediately after this amazing live stream. So one, I want to talk about the food ecosystem. So what I'm usually seeing, a lot of executives that come to us is the biggest mistake I'm seeing them make is that they eat to feed their hunger. And many of you have been taught to count calories as weight loss. However, this approach means that you are not actually eating that fuels the brain, eating in a way that's nutrient dense, that's also high quality. What we really want here is quality food here that is able to power your brain. So let me go a little bit more in niche. Let's say you love eating fish and you are pescatarian. And fish is fantastic. You got lots of healthy fats, various vitamins and minerals that can power your brain. But one thing where the environment comes and influences is that, well, the human activities has enabled to produce more toxic that goes into the water, unfortunately. One of that is mercury. And mercury has an impact. Like long exposure to the toxic mercury does impact your brain health. So if you are feeling, having headaches, feeling very tired, irritated, perhaps the food that you had taken earlier had toxic in it. And so let's go back to the fish. So the bigger and the fattier the fish is, it means that it has more mercury within it. So when you consume that fish, then the mercury gets transported into your body. So what can you do here knowing this fact? It doesn't mean that, never eat fish ever again. It just means, well, now we know this. We want to take very small actions that we're still consuming really good fish, but in a way that optimizes our brain. So in here, my recommendation is look into smaller seafood and fish, like shrimps, octopus, sardines. The smaller the fishes, the less toxic materials, toxic ingredients is in it. So you can still consume fish, fantastic to get all of the amazing ingredients, but it just means that now your decision making when it comes to shopping changes from going, like, for example, one to very much avoid is like swordfish, because we're really
Right.
they tend to have more higher level of mercury in it, and now you're switching to much smaller fish. So here's an example of how we can optimize the food we take in a way that powers our brain.
Wow. And what about in the environment too, like the bright lights, the CRT screens? I know there's so many glasses that are made with the film to help create blue light, or you're suggested that you use the blue light on your screen. What about things like that? Does that deplete the brain?
Excellent. Absolutely. So light is a very powerful source and how it impacts us. But what's happening is what kind of wavelengths of light. And so let's look at this. Let's look at plants. Plants need sunlight, just like us humans. And so we also need sunlight in order to have a very happy and optimized brain. But what's happening with us is that we are spending more and more indoors. There was actually a survey before COVID, before the pandemic and lockdown, that surveying thousands of individuals in US and Europe, that they would spend 90% of their time indoors. 90%, and this was pre-COVID.
Whoa.
And so you can imagine, Andy, that we are now spending even more time indoors. And so what's happening is we're actually not getting the light that's beneficial.
Right. I mean, there's probably not enough vitamin D out there in the world for that either.
And that's a very good point too. So what I'm going to suggest here, everyone, is light is very beneficial. And Andy made a really great point. So what you want is you want blue light during the day, first thing when you wake up. So what's the best source? Going outside and walking around for a few minutes and being able to absorb that sunlight to wake you up. Now, there's a few steps in here. First, what scientists typically recommend is that you want to make sure that you expose a bit of your arms, you're not wearing any sunscreen, and anywhere between 5 to 30 minutes to be able to, your body be able to absorb those UVA and UVB rays. That's really important. Know your skin tolerance, so you know how long it would take for you to burn. So obviously you don't want to get burned.
Right.
You just want to be staying outside for a little bit for you to soak up those rays. Typically, the darker your skin is, the longer you will need to stay outside to absorb those.
What if you live in a rainy climate?
Yeah.
Are you still getting the sun anyway?
Still have to go outdoor. You will see that even when it's cloudy,
Mm-hmm.
the rays still penetrate through the clouds. So you still want to definitely go outside. Doesn't matter whether it's bright sunny or it's cloudy. Always make sure that in the morning you make at least 20 minutes to 30 minutes just to go outside. That is very important. So that way, what's happening here is you wake up, you become more alert. You will see the difference. You will
Oh
see
yeah.
the difference.
I know when I go out for a walk first thing in the morning, absolutely. And Portia, this this reminds me of I like TikTok for informative, fun videos, short videos. And this one guy was saying the same thing. Get out. He was saying too, by getting out and walking, just even walking by landscape, whatever that looks like, helps your brain. But he was saying the same thing about the light. And I was all like, oh, great. You live in, Northern California or Southern California or Florida where it's just lovely. Here, I'm not going outside when it's icy, snowy, and below 5 below. But you're in Toronto, so you're used to really cold, yucky weather. And going out for that 5 minutes or 10 minutes or however long, what do you see, when you're in that type of climate?
Yeah, I still do it. I still, even if it's cold, I still just pull up the sleeves and I make sure I'm getting some of the rays and I'm absorbing that. Even if it's cold, even if it's -10. I did actually put a
Because
coat.
now she pulls up a sleeve and it's like freezing out. Oh, don't mind me, everybody.
Yes, I actually did even a post on this on my LinkedIn. I'd love to share these brain hacks with my audience there. And yeah, it was -10, and I was wearing a crop top and just soaking up the sun. It's cold in Canada, but it's sunny, and so yeah, it's still soaking that up. My brain health takes priority over how cold it is. So
Yeah.
for just a few minutes, that's great. That's enough just to get the advantage, because what's happening is that you still need those rays in order for your body to use that vitamin D. So it's the best form of getting that vitamin D is through the sun. But you also did mention, Andy, about the supplement, the vitamin D.
Yeah.
So it is also important for those who are in geographical locations that don't get as much sunny days as those who are in southern locations of the U.S. Is a great idea to supplement with vitamin D. Vitamin D is actually one of my number one supplements on a daily basis. And so I'm going to recommend there's a few steps. It's not just about taking vitamin D. You want to know a few things. Here are the
Okay.
hacks with vitamin D. First, know that vitamin D is fat soluble. So that means you want to have it with fatty food. So it's excellent with olive oil, with avocado, with coconut. So something fatty. That way you absorb. Because what's happening in here is you could be taking vitamin D, but what happens when your body doesn't absorb? Absorption is one of the key components of having an optimized brain, is knowing that how can we combine different ingredients to make sure that our body absorbs it. And so understanding that now that vitamin D is fat soluble and making sure you take it with a meal that is a fatty meal, then it allows for the maximum absorption.
Oh boy. I'm just thinking of Richard O, who's tuning in. It's all about the gut at the end of the day, right? I have never taken a vitamin D with anything fatty except the occasional fish.
There you
So
go. There's an easy hack. Like you already taken vitamin D, but now you're like, okay, I am going to take it with a fatty meal. And two, you want to take vitamin D in the morning, not even after, not in the later night. Why? Because vitamin D makes you more awake. It helps you stay more alert. So that's very important. And what's really, yes.
Oh, I was just going to say, yes, vitamin D was really helpful for a lot of people during COVID, keeping their immune system strong. What I learned about myself, however, is that if I went over 5,000 units, it made me sick to my stomach. So, because there's liquid forms, there's all types of vitamin D. So I want to encourage everybody to do what's right for your body. But the most important thing being that you've said, Portia, is take it with something fatty, yum, and take it in the morning because it's going to wake your butt up and then you wake your brain up. And that's what we're all about is, and how does the Red Bull mythology and Starbucks espresso shots mythology. How does that really work with the brain? Are we helping? Are we hindering? What
Mm,
has your studies showed you?
yeah. So if like take the Starbucks for example. I mean, for aside from the brand, really looking at it, here it is. Well, it's about the caffeine.
Yeah.
And where is the source of this caffeine? So again, going back to the environment, one of the big thing is about how were these foods, the fruits, produce were cultivated and processed before it comes to our hand. So something what happens with coffee beans is that depending on the processing, depending on the company that been handling this, it can get moldy. And what you're then drinking is moldy coffee, which then has an impact. Then you're feeling more lethargic, much more tired. So you're going for this espresso, this coffee. Um, you may feel the impact immediately, but then in the long term, even throughout the day, you start getting really agitated, really tired. So that coffee is actually not helping you because the ingredient that you're having is not clean. So what can you do? What's the hack here? Clean coffee. It's always really important to look at the source. Is it organic? Is it clean? So if you just search organic coffee, you'll probably find less amazing suppliers. So that's is one way. It's making sure if you love coffee, get yourself a really great source. Make sure that they have the testing, that they are mold free. That's really important. And it's something that more and more companies are becoming more aware. So they're investing in a lot of these other processes and testing and making sure that the coffee, first of all, is as clean as possible.
See, now, and if anybody has any resources, send them my way, please. I've seen a few pop up online, but even then I question, how do I know if they're not moldy? How I want to know about that testing. And I am very guilty of drinking not clean coffee. Right here, looking at me. And I love coffee. I don't say that my charming personality 100% comes from coffee, but I got to tell you, it has, caffeine works for me in so many wonderful ways, but I can understand how you can get really tired if it's not a clean product. And folks, you understand there's this, whole gut brain combination going on here in this conversation to hack your way into having that edge, that competitive edge. And this is, when I love to bring up my guests' wonderful calls to action right here, free masterclass to get a competitive edge. I'm also going to throw right into the comments here, and I'll be in all the show notes for you podcast listeners, for you replay viewers right there, but I'll bring it up here. It's very easy. optimizedbrain.com/masterclass. And remember, optimized is an OPTIMYZED brain.com for those listening. And just, this is how you can get better. This is how you can up your founder game. Taking a free masterclass, working with someone like Portia. And this is a lot of times founders where we tend to drop the ball as founders is not leveraging really good coaches, really good experts like Portia to help us bring our full and our best optimized self as a founder to give our company the lift. And I know we're all dealing with really skinny budgets, right? We're very lean and machines, but find, when you can find a way and to avoid, maybe just taking the money you're going to go and eat out, go drinking with your buddies and just say, I'm going to reinvest this in myself. It really pays off. And good, Richard. Oh, thank you. Find and support a local coffee roaster that only roasts organic, mold tested beans. Okay, I'm on it. I'm just going to reach out to my Boston startup community and say, okay, who do we know? Who can I support with this product? This is so much wonderful information. I'm going to bring up the link again for everybody with the blue background so that they can sign up for your masterclass. And I'm sure, just follow Portia everywhere she's glowing online, because clearly she knows what she's talking about and she knows how to enhance this. And I know too that there's lots of mistakes out there that you've talked about too, where we let that stress and anxiety just take over. And, whether we're pitching or we're in team meetings or just trying to get through the day, I know I do a little, one of the nostril breathing to calm down. What are some of the brain enhancing things that we can do to just sort of calm ourselves down?
Yeah, actually, this is one of the main reasons a lot of clients come to Optimized Brain. I have actually a really good example here. So how will we help one customer, and how can the audience here to take away? So one of our customers, he raised already a 1.25 million round. He had 15 angels on his cap table. Even though for a lot of people, that sounds like amazing success, great milestones, and things should be just going very easily for this particular founder, he was facing on a daily basis was a lot of stress from inbound activities. And every time he would be thinking about his board meeting, he would get anxiety attacks. So there was just so much stress, so much anxiety. And then he came to Optimized Brain and he's like, I need to address this. How can I better go and address this? And I'm looking for a system, guidance, and working with someone professional to be able to then optimize my life and my brain to be able to change that. And what's really happened is that in just a few weeks, we eliminated anxiety and bad stress. And what happened is when he thought he could not meet his targets, his revenue targets, within just 7 months, he actually 3 times his revenue targets by just changing that.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing, Portia. That's, yeah, okay, everybody. Do I have to put that up again? Optimized Brain. It's also scrolling along the border, the banner at the bottom. And also, Portia talks about this on her LinkedIn posts all the time too. So I know you'll follow her everywhere she goes. So let's come back to the entrepreneur journey because, you've dabbled in it before, not dabbled, but you explored it, but now you're just in it to win it. I really feel that Optimized Brain has the legs that you've been looking for. What are your thoughts? Like where are you at with this business on the roller coaster ride? What stage are you experiencing?
Yeah, so we're at the growth stage, and it's been an amazing journey, Andy. This is I would say, my 4th venture. The other 3 has been a lot of learning, a lot of trials. And one thing I want to say to everyone is that your first one does not need to be a rocket ship getting to the moon. It can be the fuel to getting to your next one, or maybe even the one after that. For me, that was certainly the case. From going from a wearable technology to an influencer marketing business to now to actually really focusing on helping entrepreneurs and executives optimize their brain for peak mental performance. And so at the stage we're at now is all about growth, about really being able to help more and more amazing entrepreneurs who want to create a dent in this world and to show them that, hey, having an optimized brain, it is a competitive edge. It's a lifestyle, and you can easily embed it in and be able to achieve those targets easily and faster. So like the example I gave you with the CEO that was facing those stress and anxiety, just as an example, and was then able to 7 times the revenue targets. But what's really interesting is that a year ago, before he even came to Optimized Brain, he was wearing the everything hat. He was the janitor, the marketer, the sales, and he was just running the whole show. And by learning how you can reduce your stress, eliminate anxiety, and he did that, but also be able to take time off from the business, where before he couldn't do that. So it's about completely changing your lifestyle, upgrading it, and so that you can achieve those targets in a less time. So what we're seeing is that our customers gain back about 1 to 3 hours per day because of having their brain optimized, by eliminating those distractions, by eliminating those negative internal sabotages that just stops us from processing and moving forward. And then gaining back that time, becoming much faster and executing faster and making decisions and seeing the path much more clearly, and allows one just to get there much faster and then gain the time to invest in other areas. So whether it be family, whether it be building another business, whether it be becoming an investor in other businesses, we're seeing all sorts of.
Oh, you're painting a wonderful picture there. What? Sure, a lot of founders are like, wait, in 5 weeks? Yeah, again, I'm just going to pull it up one more time because this is something you need. Go and check out the free masterclass with Optimized Brain and the wonderful Portia Asli here. So, Portia, when you have felt founder doubt, in your earlier companies and today, what mindset hack did you use to get yourself back into feeling confident and stepping into your authority as a founder?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that's normal. Everyone feels that. But let's take a step back and look into, well, what does it mean scientifically? What does it actually mean when you feel that and what's happening in the brain? So if you remember at the beginning of our conversation, I was talking about this powerful phenomenon called neuroplasticity. So that's about how you can rewire and restructure the brain. So if a situation, for example, that makes you feel inadequate, makes you feel self-doubt, if that is happening over and over again, what it means neurologically is that now you are strengthening your neuronal pathways to every time for this scenario is to trigger those self-doubt and inadequate beliefs. But what we can do, knowing about neuroplasticity, is that we can also break this neuronal connections and rewire it. So if that situation happened, instead it can trigger you to feel calm, confident, and on top of it. So your brain doesn't know how to interpret those situations. You tell your brain whether that situation makes you feel self-doubt or inadequate. So now knowing that our brain can be rewired, the first thing is what I always do is if there is a certain trigger, a certain feeling that I feel, it's making me feel a bit of doubt or inadequate, I identify it. I actually take a moment and feel that feeling and listen to it. What is it telling me? What is this from this situation that's telling me? So let me give you an example. One managing director of a very successful company came to me and said, hey, I'm looking at our competitors and everything that I'm doing just doesn't measure up. And this managing director had already launched a presence in 3 countries, had already raised more than 10 million. Even from this amazing success, he still felt inadequate.
Yeah. What triggered that?
So one, it could be past, personal, that never got resolved. And that's very important because we need to then understand, dig deep. What's happened in your past that made you, when you achieved something, that it was not good enough? And it's super important to understand what that is. So that requires a process. It's not an overnight thing, but it can be resolved. It has been resolved, and we have seen successes. But going through a process, then eventually we understand this is a root cause. And so then we can change that. We can transform that. The other thing we can do here is looking at, what are actually our successes? And be reminded of those successes and taking a moment to actually attach really good, happy feelings to those successes.
Yay.
So I say this, even though it sounds very simple, but I know a lot of founders, they don't take the moment to appreciate and celebrate those small wins. Because when you do that, then your brain releases those happy chemicals, those neurotransmitters, such as dopamine. So that way you can associate those wins and with triggering those happy chemicals, those neurotransmitters. And so you can then experience those more happy, positive feelings. Then when you have a situation that may potentially say like, I'm not good enough, then you can go back to the time where you achieved something and be like, yeah, you know what? I achieved this. I overcome these obstacles, and therefore I am good enough. I am skilled to now overcome this next challenge. I can do it because I have done it in the past. So it's very important to go back. First of all, identify what was it in the past in our
Right.
childhood that was making us feel we're not good enough. And then there's a whole psychological process to address those. Then the second one is then actually taking various snapshots through the founder journey, whether it is my first customer, whether it be my first A-player hire, getting my first investor, to having a launch that eventually reached 1 million users. Any of those, we need to really take it in, feel those happiness, attach a happiness to those moments, celebrate them. So that way, when those next challenges comes along, we just don't feel inadequate because we're convinced. We know that we have the tools and the skills to overcome those.
Oh my gosh. And I'm just, running through my, where is my stitch that on a pillow somewhere here? Hold on, because I've got to pull that up because celebrate the moment is so important. And I can see that on a pillow everywhere. Absolutely. I have a Pinterest board where I put testimonials, the random testimonials that come back for your feedback on the show. That just means the world to me as a reminder. So founders, you really need to do that. And the word is neuroplasticity. Is that the right?
Is one of the amazing phenomenal that the brain changes. The
Yeah.
brain has the ability to change.
So if you're always looking at feeling inadequate or where you're not enough, or what can happen online is you compare yourselves with other people and go, oh, I'm not, as he was saying, look at them and I'm not, I'm not doing enough. No. Look at what you are doing well. And it will just, that evidence will just keep coming in and in and in, and you are rewiring your brain for that. What about our neurodivergent friends? We're getting so many more studies back with folks whose brains just work differently. They feel differently, they act differently, and we just haven't been as aware of it. How do you work with founders who are neurodivergent?
Yeah, so this is a very amazing concept and a very forefront. So the way we design Optimized Brain is that it's very inclusive. And inclusivity is basically at the heart of our organization. As I mentioned, we had customers that come to us who have various conditions, and they're ambitious individuals, are really leading great companies and want to make a dent in the world. And so by starting to really empower them with knowledge about their brain and how their brain works, and then giving them the tools and helping them to apply those tools, and then giving them feedback, really personalized feedback, and walking the journey with them, we start seeing amazing changes. So when one is very much open to change, open to feedback, and open to learning, there is so much opportunities for growth. And we see that with Optimized Brain. So let me give you one example. And this is one of the stories that really touches my heart, and I think you will love this too. So one founder I met at a startup conference, he has a really ambitious vision to extend the 5G network in Europe and the fiber optics cable. But the first thing he told me, he's like, Portia, I can't raise funding. And we dig in, and he shared with me that, well, I'm diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. And in my country, I have to carry a certificate that says I have this condition, and therefore it's very difficult for me to raise financing. If you guys don't know about cystic fibrosis, those who have that, the lifespan is very short. And so because of that, he was like, I can't do it. And so what we did is we turned it around. We said, look, this is just a problem, and your brain can learn to solve this problem. And by looking to solving this problem, tapping into creative solutions, you can then raise that fund you want to do. So beyond cystic fibrosis, we broke it down, and we found out, okay, there is exhaustion, not having enough sleep. There was level of confusion and not showing what direction this founder needed to execute. So it was lack of mental clarity. And as well as distraction was an issue. there was lots of distraction, and so his concentration was less than 30 minutes. And then if he did any very intensive work, he would be very tired. So we started addressing each of these issues one by one. And what happened is his concentration went to 2 hours, which is really phenomenal. Someone who is getting medical attention.
Yeah.
And so he was able to produce more work in less time. He was then looked at in his sleep, where before he would wake up and he'd be completely tired and exhausted, feeling like he never slept. He was able to start getting 8-hour quality sleep, which then changed the way he was thinking,
everything,
he was dealing with problems. So those changes happened in just a few weeks because he was open to taking feedback and putting those in action. And Andy, he went from 0, first-time founder, never raised a fund, to securing 85 million euros.
Get out.
1 million euros.
Oh my gosh, folks, you can see, rewire your brain, enhance the performance of your brain, and it is life changing. That is like, he had a story, plus he hadn't, oh my gosh, Portia. Okay, I got to put it back up again. The get my mouse working here. I want to put this back up because we need to really constantly be upping our game, founders. Get into the masterclass. It's a free course. It's a free class with Portia. Why wouldn't you want to? Can I give you an example of something in our household too? Our 8-year-old, it looked like he was having petite mals every 15 minutes. His head was shaking. And he was always, even waking up after 10 hours of sleep, he was yawning. So I went to a neuro, oh my gosh, nope. Just lost it. I can't remember what it's called now. I'm so sorry, everybody. Just went out of my brain. Got to work on my brain. But it's where they did a map of his brain, and they saw that 2 of his lobes were having a like an earthquake. They were rubbing against each other and going like this every 15 minutes. So they were able to rewire through like a computer game to calm that down. So he stopped within 5 months of shaking his head. And they learned that he wasn't getting REM sleep. And so they helped with just some, little Pavlovian type of stimulus to change that. Changed his entire life. And also he wasn't able to retrieve information. So they fixed that too. The brain can be worked with, folks. Whether you're born with a certain type of learning, that you can enhance that, as we just learned in that beautiful heartfelt story that Portia shared. Or if you are a neuro-traditional brain person and thinking person, there's ways to, declutter what's going on in your life and add value. Portia, you have just really helped so many founders today with this conversation. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you, Andy, for having the opportunity, creating this platform where other founders can come up here and be inspired. If we don't have folks like yourself to be able to amplify and helping people to become better, we won't get anywhere. So I think I want to say thanks to you for
thank you.
Opportunity and helping all of us, myself, and also those who were able to tune in live, and whether those who've been watching it as the replay is getting these really amazing nuggets and actionable nuggets. And of course,
yay, thank you. And also, I just want to say congratulations. You are a natural teacher. So or maybe you trained yourself to be this way, which is also phenomenal. But what I really loved was your presentation, how you took us on the journey. You gave us what we needed. And that's why, folks, going across the bottom of the screen, you can see the sign up for the masterclass. Take advantage of this. It's free. Your brain needs it. And then find a way that you can work with Portia, because you've got a certain runway of time and you really want to bring the best chance you have at making it. It's hard enough. I mean, startups fail every single day. You want to take the best and bring the best and improve your game, because if it's not going to work out, as Portia said very early on, if it's not going to work out this time, it could work out the next time or the third time. You're going to figure it out. And when you have this kind of help, Portia, thank you. I'm just so thrilled that this is the business that you chose to land on today. And I bet that when you calm down every day, you're going, wow, I've had a huge ripple effect in the world.
That's my mission is, being able to live a life where I have seen people to be transformed. So when our customers come back to us and, Andy, like it takes quite a bit of effort for people to write a 3-line Google review. But our customers are writing 3-4 pages and they're publishing it live on their own accounts on LinkedIn, for example. And so that means so much. And they're writing that how it's been life-changing. Like the word life-changing has been used so many times from our customers. It's basically what I'm hoping to just live each day and do this for the better of humanity.
Oh my gosh. And how can the Startup Life Live community open doors and add wind to your sales?
Thank you for this question. I think you've done wonderful today, but if anybody here is listening, we'd love to be able to add more wind to this sale, is spreading the message about Optimyzed Brain. Our masterclass is fantastic because it's very actionable, and you're going to get a sneak peek also into our clients who were able to 4 times their concentration, who will be able to get 25% more time back in a given day, and also raise those 8-figure funds. And you're going to learn really actionable techniques, and be able to share that with others. It's going to be empowering them, and I just want to help more people. And yeah, I think that's one of the best ways that you can help.
Yay, get the clappers out for that. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to pop you into the green room while I wrap up the show. But my heartfelt thanks for joining me and sharing these incredible and invaluable tips and ways in which we can optimize our brain so that we can perform at an elite and basically our fully expressed capability that we were born with. And, it requires a wonderful coach and expert like you and your team to help us get there. So founders, I don't care if solopreneur, if you've already got a team, you got to get this kind of help. I feel very strongly about that. Thank you, Portia. I'm going to pop you the green room. Thanks so much for joining us. Wow, did we learn some great things today? And I know I'm going to be ordering some clean coffee. I've been meaning to do this for a while, folks. I really have, but I've been a bit lazy about it. But now I'm going to, because the last thing we need after having that delicious hit of caffeine is to get groggy or mucky and murky with our thinking. But all of that is just wonderful. And I know that we have come away with some better ideas and how important all of this is. Let me share with you who's coming on the show next. We have a spanking newly minted founder joining us on Tuesday, May 3rd at 12 p.m. It's Allison Elliott, and she's a social entrepreneur, and she's the founder of The Farmer Foodie, a vegan food product company launching its first product, Everything Cheese, and it's a raw, vegan, gluten-free, and soy-free cashew Parmesan alternative. I'm talking this, anyway, we're going into the very basics of launching a food company. So if you know someone who's got a recipe they've been wanting to bring to market, we're going like from, wow, I've got this great recipe to actually launching with this newly minted founder. And you're going to love meeting her. She's got a wild TikTok presence, and she's phenomenal. And she's winning a lot of events here. She just got a whole year free at WeWork because she showed up and presented and won. So opportunities are out there everywhere we go, right, folks? Anyway, I hope to see you then, either live or via replay. Thank you so much for carving out time for you and your business. And today, your brain. So important. Until next time, I'm wishing you a delicious day everywhere you glow. Mwah. Stay in touch, okay? Cheers.